You've just entered the Bear Report, your digital zone for all things Chicago Bears. Bear down. Let's get into it.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. You know that feeling when things go so wrong, you almost wish they'd just go normally wrong?
Yeah, like just a regular bad day instead of a catastrophe.
Exactly. That's pretty much the vibe around the Chicago Bears right now. After their, absolutely brutal 0-2 start, we're talking about a Week 2 loss so lopsided, people are actually genuinely asking the team to just lose normally.
Wow. That phrase, lose normally, it really just hammers home the current state, doesn't it?
It really does. It's a stark reflection of just how spectacular and, frankly, demoralizing these early defeats have been.
So, for you listening, our mission today is basically to cut through all the noise around this tumultuous period.
Yeah, let's get to the core of it.
We're going to try and identify the crucial nuggets of insight, understand the why behind these struggles, and really unpack what this moment means for the Chicago Bears.
We'll look at the current issues, the challenges ahead.
Definitely. And maybe most importantly, what actual tangible signs of progress you should be watching for.
Consider this your shortcut, your way to get genuinely well-informed about where the team is at this critical crossroads.
Okay, so let's dive right in.
Let's zero in on that Week 2 catastrophe first, against the Detroit Lions. I mean, it was a demolition that, frankly, left us all a bit stunned.
Yes, stunned is a good word for it.
Especially for a defense that actually showed some real promise in Week 1. So what were the most, alarming statistics from that game? What do they tell us about executing this new system?
Oh, the numbers from that 52-21 loss are truly jarring. I mean, you saw a defense give up over 500 total yards.
500, wow.
And the Lions put up 5 passing touchdowns and 2 rushing touchdowns. Now, to put that in perspective for you, it was the first time in Detroit's entire franchise history they'd achieved that kind of offensive explosion against any opponent.
Against anyone, not just the Bears.
Against anyone. So this isn't just about, individual mistakes here and there. It points to a more systemic breakdown in that new defensive scheme. When a new system struggles that profoundly, it's often the foundational concepts, maybe the communication under pressure. That's what breaks down, and you get these synchronized failures across the unit. That seems to be what we saw.
And look, it wasn't just Week 2 either, was it? We have to quickly rewind to Week 1. That 27-24 loss to the Minnesota Vikings.
The blown lead.
Rolling a 17-6 lead to a rookie quarterback. J.J. McCarthy, the 6th overall pick.
Yeah.
I mean, that context just makes these recent collapses feel even more spectacular and, honestly, inexcusable.
It really paints a troubling pattern, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It absolutely does. And that pattern is precisely why this whole just lose normally sentiment has resonated so deeply with fans.
It's not just being 0-2.
No, it's not the 0-2 record itself that's most concerning. I think a lot of people anticipated a challenging start, with the Vikings and Lions on the schedule early.
Sure, tough draw.
But what's jarring is the manner of these losses, these sudden dramatic collapses. The season already feels like it's teetering on the edge of a cliff.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Which makes this upcoming game against Dallas more than just another matchup, right? It's being called a gut check.
A moment of truth.
Exactly, a moment of truth for the team's character. Because how they respond now, that's going to reveal what they're really made of.
Okay, so moving from the team overall, let's dive into the offense. Specifically, rookie quarterback Caleb Williams and that curiously anemic run game.
Yeah, let's talk Caleb.
His performance has definitely been up and down. He started strong against the Lions, remember? 9 of 11, 79 yards, a touchdown in that first quarter. Gave us a little flicker of hope.
Those early flashes were definitely there.
But after that, the consistency, the decision-making, it just wasn't quite there.
You're right. He ultimately finished, 19 of 30 for 207 yards, 2 touchdown passes to Rome Odunze, which is good.
Yep.
However, a lot of that production came in what some people are calling garbage time yards. A late kind of meaningless touchdown.
Right, when the game was out of reach.
And he also threw an interception, finished under 7 yards per attempt. So it raises this critical question, right? When the biggest compliment for your number 1 overall pick is, he wasn't the biggest problem.
Or he wasn't that bad.
Yeah. In a 31-point loss, what does it really tell you about the state of the offense around him? It suggests a larger ecosystem of struggle, I think.
I definitely understand that frustration. But Coach Ben Johnson did offer his perspective. He noted significant growth, but also admitted, quote, not perfect yet.
Okay.
He pointed to moments where Caleb's eyes aren't quite in the right position, or he's maybe holding onto the ball just a tick longer than they're coaching. What does that kind of feedback tell you about the learning curve here?
Well, it tells you two things, I think, at the same time. First, there is genuine progress happening behind the scenes. Johnson also highlighted tremendous growth in Caleb's ability to go through his progressions.
Which is key for a rookie.
Huge. Trusting his feet, his footwork, getting to number 3 or maybe even number 4 in his reads, that's a big step. But second, it underlines this really delicate balancing act for the coaching staff. Johnson's trying to figure out, okay, how much do we carry over from previous plans versus introducing new, like designer plays for this specific opponent?
Right, tailoring it week to week.
The goal is always for Caleb to play fast, play confident, but the reality is they're keeping things very simple right now, relying on concepts he's comfortable with.
Makes sense.
Because, as Johnson put it pretty bluntly, there are no shortcuts. They have to prioritize that foundational understanding over just throwing complexity at him. It's often the right long-term approach for a young QB, even if it's frustrating now.
Okay, speaking of things not moving fast, let's talk about that run game. It's been, well, an unseen struggle, but honestly, just anemic is the word.
Yeah, it's been rough.
In week 1, remember, 58 of their 119 rushing yards came from Caleb Williams scrambling.
Right, not the backs.
And against the Lions, the ground game was basically non-existent for the running backs. What makes this particularly surprising, I think, is it comes right after an offseason where they focus so heavily on bolstering that offensive line. Key acquisitions like Drew Dahlman, Joe Thuney, Jonah Jackson.
That's a really crucial point. Because the inability to establish any kind of consistent run game, it just puts immense, probably unsustainable pressure on a young quarterback.
Yeah, totally.
When the running backs aren't producing, the whole offense kind of grinds to a halt, right? Play action is less effective. Defenses can just pin their ears back and come after the passer.
So what's the feeling from the players, like DeAndre Swift?
Well, Swift summed it up after the loss. He emphasized the team needs to execute, go back to work. He was pretty clear, saying, ain't nobody walking around with their head down and that they're going to war for each other.
Good to hear.
He basically suggested the team will find out what type of team we exactly are real soon. And honestly, when Swift did run the ball, he actually looked really good.
Yeah, just didn't get enough touches.
Exactly. Game circumstances really limited his carries. But his comments highlight a team that, they understand the urgency, even if the results aren't quite there yet.
Okay, let's pivot then. Let's talk defensive woes. Because the injuries are really mounting, and it's becoming a serious concern.
Yeah, this is getting critical.
While the defense was maybe a bright spot, relatively speaking, in week 1 against the Vikings,
Right.
it completely broke down in week 2. Allowed over 500 total yards, 7 touchdowns against the Lions. You mentioned it was historic for Detroit, something they'd never done before.
Yeah, the sheer volume of yards and touchdowns allowed, it just raises immediate red flags. But what's maybe even more concerning now is the injury report.
Tell us about that.
Okay, so starting defensive back Kyler Gordon, he's already nursing a hamstring. He was inactive. That marks his 11th missed career game already.
Wow, that's a lot.
Then, during the game, linebacker TJ Edwards leaves with a hamstring issue. And critically, defensive back Jaylon Johnson exits with a groin injury.
Oh, no. Any word on Johnson?
Yeah, the News Monday suggested his 2025 season is likely over. Potentially needs season-ending surgery.
Yeah, that's a huge blow.
It's massive, especially when you consider the Bears' secondary just gave up over 330 yards to Jared Goff, almost 12 yards per attempt.
Yeah.
5 touchdowns, a 155-plus passer rating to the Lions receivers.
So a battered secondary, potentially without 3 starters now, going into week 3.
It's a significant immediate concern, a real test of their depth, and frankly, the scheme's adaptability.
And it's not just injuries or specific unit breakdowns, right? There seems to be a team-wide discipline issue that's just glaring.
Oh, yeah.
We're talking constant drive-killing penalties through these first 2 games. Against the Lions, they had 8 penalties, including multiple false starts. That's been a persistent problem since week 1.
Look, these unforced errors are quite simply the hallmarks of an undisciplined team, period.
Yeah.
The offense alone has racked up 13 penalties, 10 of them accepted, just through the first 2 weeks. Meanwhile, they've only scored 5 touchdowns.
That ratio.
That ratio needs to be much more aligned, as one report put it. It's like trying to run a marathon but constantly tripping over your own feet. It just derails any momentum you might build.
And these aren't physical mistakes mostly, right? They're mental lapses.
Exactly. Which suggests the message from the coaching staff, whatever it is, isn't fully translating into consistent disciplined play when it matters on the field.
So, okay, what does all this mean for Week 3? We're looking ahead to the Dallas Cowboys showdown. It feels like way more than just another game.
Definitely feels bigger.
This feels like a true crossroads moment for the team, doesn't it? To show its character, its resilience, especially playing at home against a 1-1 Cowboy squad.
Oh, the Cowboys present a monumental challenge, and it really couldn't come at a more crucial, maybe fragile time for the Bears.
Tell us about Dallas. What's the threat?
Well, they boast a high-flying offense, right? A really potent passing game led by Dak Prescott. He threw for 361 yards, 2 TDs, 1 pick against the Giants, and he's been historically very good in the second half of games.
And weapon.
Oh, yeah. Lots of weapons. CeeDee Lamb, obviously 112 yards against the Giants. He's had over 100 in both games this year. Brandon Cooks. George Pickens made an impact last week, 68 yards and a touchdown. Even Kevontae Turpin got in on it, 47 yards, a touchdown. And don't forget the tight end, Jake Ferguson. He was Dak's top target last week, 78 yards on 9 catches.
Okay, so that's a lot to handle for any secondary. And you contrast that potent offense with the Bears' injury-riddled secondary, which, like we just said, could be without 3 starters.
Yeah.
They just gave up over 330 yards to Goff and the Lions. 5 different Lions receivers scored. That sounds like a recipe for a very, very long afternoon.
It absolutely does. It looks like a mismatch on paper, doesn't it?
Okay, give us some hope here.
Well, just to offer maybe a glimmer of potential opportunity, Dallas's defense, while it's definitely a force built to create chaos, led by Micah Parsons, who's always a Defensive Player of the Year candidate.
Parsons is terrifying.
He is. But that defense isn't totally invulnerable. They did allow 450 yards and 3 touchdowns to Russell Wilson and the Giants last week.
Oh, okay.
Including 167 yards and 2 touchdowns to Malik Neighbors and 142 yards and a touchdown to Wan'Dale Robinson. Their corners, Trayvon Diggs and Gary Elam, actually gave up significant yardage and high passer ratings in that game.
Interesting. So while it's an imposing defense, they have shown they can be beaten through the air.
They have shown they can be moved, yeah. So there might be chances there if the Bears can protect Williams.
Okay, let's talk about those under-the-radar keys then. For the Bears' defense with that battered secondary, it feels like the only way they can survive is if their defensive line, Montez Sweat, DeMarcus Walker, the interior guys, generates just relentless pressure on Prescott.
Absolutely critical. If that pass rush is silent,
Yeah.
it will be a very long afternoon, just like you said.
But what about the offense? What's the key there?
On offense, well, that multi-million-dollar investment in the offensive line, Dolman, Bunny, Jackson, it simply must pay off this week.
No excuses.
Pretty much. Establishing DeAndre Swift and the ground attack isn't just like a nice bonus. It feels like a survival tactic this week.
Why specifically?
You need it to slow down Dallas's pass rush, especially Parsons. You need it to control the clock, keep their explosive offense off the field, and crucially, you need it to take pressure off your rookie quarterback.
So strategically, it raises a question, right? How will the coaching staff prioritize the run game early? Will they stick with it, even if it struggles initially, knowing how vital it is?
That's a huge question going into Sunday. How committed are they?
And here's maybe a crucial one for team discipline.
Yeah.
Just watch the first quarter. Forget the score for a second. A clean, penalty-free opening drive.
Yeah.
Even if it doesn't end in a touchdown, that would feel like a massive sign of progress, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Showing that the coaching staff's message is finally getting through.
Totally agree. For this game, you almost have to measure success in moments, not just the scoreboard.
Right. Like, can Caleb Williams look comfortable? Can he avoid those, catastrophic turnovers?
Can the Bears finally establish a running game that actually takes pressure off him?
And maybe most importantly, if they go down early, which is possible against Dallas, do they just fold? Or do they punch back? Do they show some fight, some resilience?
That's the identity test right there, especially given how the first 2 games ended. And, just for a little historical context, it's such a stark contrast to, the Bears' 44 Uzo demolition of the Cowboys back in 1985.
Oh, yeah, the Super Bowl shuffle year.
That game solidified that legendary team's dominance. Feels like a lifetime ago now, doesn't it? Today's team is just looking for any tiny glimmer of that same kind of resilience.
Okay, let's pull back then. Look at the bigger picture for a minute. The spotlight is now intensely focused on general manager Ryan Poles.
Understandably so.
We're 3+ years into his roster reconstruction. He's had 34 draft picks, signed 17 unrestricted free agents to multi-year deals, made key trades for guys like DJ Moore, Joe Thuney, Jonah Jackson.
Right, significant resources invested.
And yet, The roster still feels, to many observers, like a bottom-tier NFC roster.
Yeah. And this is a really critical observation because it leads to deeper questions, right, about the whole scouting and development process.
How so?
Well, what's concerning is that these recent day 1 and day 2 draft picks, guys like Ozzie Trapillo, Shamar Turner, Luther Burden, Colson Loveland, they're just not making an impact yet.
Some aren't even active. Right?
Exactly. Some are inactive. Some missed offseason programs. Even Darnell Wright, the offensive tackle they took high last year, notably passing on an impact defensive tackle like Jalen Carter to get him there. There are even questions swirling about his long-term future now.
So the question becomes...
The question is, why? Why, after this much time, after all this significant investment, do they still seem so far from legitimate contention? It points to potential issues maybe in scouting, maybe talent evaluation, player development, maybe even a mismatch between the players they acquire and the scheme they're trying to run.
It's complex.
It's a multifaceted problem, likely goes beyond just bad luck.
And coaching accountability is also under the microscope, isn't it? There's been some frustrations noted around Ben Johnson's abbreviated press conferences sometimes.
Yeah, I've seen that mentioned.
That they sometimes limit closure on the previous game, push important questions into the next week's cycle. Does that reflect a broader challenge?
I think it can. The perception of transparency and just directness from the coaching staff can significantly impact team morale, not to mention the external narratives.
Right.
When press conferences feel maybe rushed or abbreviated, it can reflect a fundamental need for clearer communication, maybe a more efficient process in just addressing issues head on instead of letting them kind of linger.
And that could potentially impact discipline, too.
It absolutely could. It impacts not just the media stuff, but the perception of accountability within the team structure. It could potentially contribute to those discipline issues we were just talking about.
Okay. Wow. After all that, are there any small glimmers of hope? Anything positive we can maybe latch onto for you, our listener, to watch for?
Yes. There are a couple of small, but I think significant developments.
Okay, let's hear them.
One notable positive, the Bears have actually scored touchdowns on their opening drive in both of the first 2 games this season.
Oh, that's interesting. Why is that significant?
Well, compare that to last year. In all 17 games last season, they only managed 6 total points on opening possessions all year.
6 points all year on opening drives. Wow.
Yeah. So scoring touchdowns twice already, that's a huge improvement in starting strong. It indicates they are coming out well prepared, at least initially, even if they struggle later.
Okay, that is a positive sign. What else?
And here's another really compelling aspect, I think. Rookie Rome Odunze's emergence.
Yeah, we mentioned his touchdowns.
Right. He had a really strong performance against the Lions, 128 yards, caught both of Williams' touchdowns. He's already kind of positioned himself as Caleb's go-to receiver. He actually got 5 more targets than even DJ Moore in that game.
5 more targets than Moore. That's significant.
It really is.
Yeah.
That's a promising connection for the future, right? Something they can genuinely build upon, even amidst the struggles.
Definitely.
So, yeah, those are tangible signs of progress. Small ones, maybe, in a challenging start, but they show that individual talent can shine and that the team can execute in key moments like the opening script.
Okay, good. So let's quickly recap what we've unpacked today then. We've talked about the profound struggles in execution and discipline.
The penalties, the breakdowns.
The mounting injuries, especially to key defensive players like Jalen Johnson.
A huge concern moving forward.
The monumental challenge that the Dallas Cowboys posed this week.
Yeah, that's a tough test.
And those underlying kind of nagging questions about the team's overall direction under Ryan Poles and Ben Johnson.
It really feels like a team at a crossroads, doesn't it? Navigating immense pressure, a really critical early season stretch here.
So, thinking about all that, given these early struggles and the immediate challenges ahead, what will truly constitute progress for this Bears team in the coming weeks? Like, beyond just the final score.
Yeah, what are we actually looking for?
Is it just about Caleb Williams showing measured growth? Is it finally seeing a consistent run game? Is it simply improved discipline, fewer flags?
Or maybe just the overall resilience, seeing them fight back when things get tough.
What specific moments will you be watching for that truly indicate where this team is headed? Something to think about.
Absolutely. We'll leave you to ponder that until our next deep dive.
Thanks for tuning in to the Bear Report. We're proud to be your voice in Bears Nation. If you liked what you heard, hit follow, and spread the word. More news, more takes, more grit, coming your way soon. Don't forget to follow the show wherever you get your podcasts. And as always, bear down.